Back, and we have a great lineup of guests, starting with Bill Kingsley and also Steve Maresca, and they're from UHY LLP. And Bill has nearly 30 years of experience providing tax planning and strategic business consulting services to both public and privately held companies. And Steve is a manager in the Farmington Hills Tax Department, and he assists in the preparation and review of individual, corporate, and partnership returns of income. Bill and Steve, good morning. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Mark.
Good to be here.
Glad to have you. You ready for a new bullpen yet?
It's getting rough out there.
Okay. All right. What we're going to do is to spend the first couple of segments, again, talking about the Small Business Workshop. And I'm so pleased to announce that UHY is one of our sponsors, and we really do appreciate your support. Thank you. Bill, why don't you talk to us briefly about the organization? Who are you, and what do you do?
Sure. UHY is an international accounting firm. We're actually in 95 countries around the world, and then we're in 15 cities here in the United States. Locally, we are the fifth largest accounting firm in the Metro Detroit market, with offices in Detroit, Farmington Hills, and Sterling Heights. Our focus is squarely on the small and middle market business, and we like to be the business advisors and the difference makers in helping those entrepreneurs grow their business, whether that be with tax planning, financial planning, or even helping design ultimately where they want to go with their company and an exit strategy.
Yeah. And I think, we talk about accounting and taxes. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that concept, don't they?
They certainly can. It's one of those areas where individuals tend to get concerned, whether they get a notice from the Internal Revenue Service, whether they get a form that just looks more daunting than it actually is. It detracts from what they want to be doing, which is running their business.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here to help with those business owners to make the compliance a little simpler, but also make certain that we're helping them with planning for taxes.
Well, let's talk about the tax area. Steve Maresca, you're a manager in the tax department. What are some of the challenges that entrepreneurs have? And there's certain areas that they lack in understanding. What are some of those areas?
Absolutely. As Bill mentioned, we are business consultants. We are, more than just tax preparers. There's a lot that goes into dealing with businesses, especially ones that are very new and in the startup phases. Basically, there's only so much time in the day where business owners have to, allocate their resources. And I think it's important that they have a general understanding of all aspects of their business, not just the operations, but they should be aware of what's going on in their accounting department, HR, what have you. So an important piece that they need to be aware of is having a good bookkeeper.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can pop up, as Bill mentioned. There's always tax notices coming in the door. But more than that, having financials that are up to date, very important if you're trying to procure, financing and new capital. You need to have your financial statements up to date. Understanding your own tax return. It's basically a report card of how you've done over the year, and it provides you insights of where you can improve your business as well. And also the type of business that you have. Are you an LLC? Are you an LP? Are you an S corporation, C corporation? All the tax planning and rules are affected by the type of entity you are. So those are some of the challenges that they face.
So let me ask you a question, Steve. The W-9.
Yes.
Okay, Bill, and we talked about this last week in a call that we had. So explain to our listeners, the entrepreneur thinking about starting a business or they're in business, because the workshop is focused on business sustainability, which we'll get to in a little bit. But explain to them the concept of the W-9 and why it's important and when you need to have it.
Well, depending on what we're working with, if you're hiring contractors to provide services for you, and you're paying them in excess of $600, you're going to have to provide them a 1099. And to gather that information, that you provide them a W-9 to fill out the pertinent information that you have, such as the address, name, and FEIN number. So many business owners lack the discipline, quite frankly, and they're not aware of all the filings and different tax items that there are. And quite frankly, it can result in unnecessary penalties and loss of and money's going out the door. And obviously, when you're a startup, that's something you can't afford to do. You need all the resources you can, and we can't afford to have these things slip through the cracks.
Is it wise for a business to take cash versus check or credit card?
Well, here's a problem with cash. I mean, oftentimes individuals who are looking to pay in cash or whatever else, they're perhaps looking to avoid tax reporting. Right. And that should be a trigger sign to say, well, perhaps there's a reason we need to do this in a cash transaction, but I still need a W-9, and I'm still going to report this on a 1099.
Very good.
We're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're going to be in trouble with the Internal Revenue Service because you wish to avoid taxes.
Excellent comment. I think that's very important. A lot of times business owners are so excited, about starting a business. They don't go through the proper paperwork. They don't file the proper paperwork. They don't follow the proper forms for tax purposes. And I got to tell you, we were talking before we started the show today from my own personal standpoint. My business was audited a couple of years ago, and I had all the paperwork in order. Submitted everything to the IRS, and they sent me a letter, the heart's pounding, like, oh my goodness, and it came back and says you're clean. I mean, so I was fortunate enough to certainly have the paperwork in order, so I'm glad we had this conversation about the W-9. Steve, back over to you. In terms of cash flows, what are some of the important documents, and talk about the importance of cash flows? Again, that's important when it comes to business sustainability.
Unquestionably. Yes, cash flow is very important. When you're starting up a business, cash is going to be a very important part of what you're doing. There are certain questions, there are certain decisions that can be made with respect to cash. As they say in life, there are two certainties. There's death and there's taxes, right? Once a company starts becoming profitable, it's an inevitability that there are going to be taxes that need to be paid. But are there other options that we can get around it? Well, yes. If you're considering maybe purchasing a piece of equipment or some piece of new capital, there are specific write-offs with respect to depreciation that can reduce your tax liability that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. There are a number of tax credits out there that can help save you dollars. There's fuel credits, there's energy efficiency credits, there's work and labor opportunity credits, and perhaps one of the largely known tax credits out there is the research and development credit. Now, it's been around for a very long time. It's also saved companies billions of dollars over the course of the years. And the only problem is, in general, you're not going to be able to utilize the research and development credit unless you actually have taxable income and tax. So for all you new business owners out there, obviously the first couple of years could be a little dicey. Maybe you're not making money, things of that nature. There's a new provision and a new tax credit out there that most people do not know about, and I think it could be very important. There's actually a provision in the research and development credit where you can take a credit against the payroll taxes, the employer portion of the FICA taxes that you pay on your wages, that will be very instrumental in helping people keep money in their pockets, basically. Yeah.
So let's kind of segue, if we could, in our closing few moments ago. We had a few minutes, but the workshop itself.
Yes.
UHY, and specifically Steve, you will be on the panel.
I will be.
You'll be on the panel. So the topic, again, is focused on business sustainability. What are some of the things at a very high level that you think, that you want to share, that you might be communicating this upcoming Wednesday?
Well, quite frankly, it's going to be a lot of the items that we have touched on. I'm very excited about the new provision with respect to the R&D credit, because if you were in the first couple of years of your business, and most people think of R&D as people in white lab coats and with beakers and all those sorts of chemicals going on, but it's what comprises qualified research and development expenditures is incredibly expansive. If you're improving on a process or reducing uncertainty in something that you do, we're talking manufacturing, software development, tool and die, pharmaceuticals. There's so many different industries that this could apply to, and I just think it's a fantastic opportunity for a number of new businesses to utilize.
So Steve is giving you, as well as Bill Kingsley and Steve Maresca from UHY, an outstanding firm here in the Detroit area, focused in the tax area, amongst other things, are giving you some great advice. You need to come out and hear them this Wednesday, particularly Steve. He's going to be on the panel Wednesday, May 3rd. That's from 7:30, actually 7:30 until 1 p.m., 7:30 to 8:30 will be networking, breakfast, and things like that. But it's going to be located at 440 Burrow Street in Techtown in Midtown Detroit at Techtown Detroit, May 3rd. This year's, again, theme will be focused on business sustainability. We will have 4 workshop topics specifically: knowing your customers and potential customers, leadership and skills required to get to the next level, managing your numbers and understanding your business model, effectively amplifying your key messages in a cost-efficient manner. There will be vendors here to provide you with additional information from their organizations to really provide you with the level of support that you need to focus on sustainability. We have a great lineup of speakers, such as Dave Zilko will be one of the keynote speakers, a former vice chair of Garden Fresh and currently the president of Fuel Leadership. We also have Dr. William Picard, a major auto supplier here in town, Carlo Walker Miller, who owns Walker Miller Energy Services. So we're going to encourage you to certainly come out Wednesday to participate. I think it will be very worthwhile. Steve, anything else you want to share about the workshop on Wednesday?
I'm just very excited with the opportunity to talk to a number of new and small business owners. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there in the market. We just got to make sure that we're doing all the right things and we're doing everything that we can to enhance your growth, avoid any pitfalls, and basically reduce your costs. That's what we're here for.
And let me tell you why we're focusing on business sustainability. I've talked about this quite a bit over the last several weeks. 50%, according to the SBA, will not survive beyond 12 months. 50% of businesses. According to Bloomberg, 80% will not survive nationally beyond 18 months. So that's why this year we're focusing on business sustainability. We are trying to give you the tools. This is our third year. This is being presented by Fifth Third Bank and the Michigan Women's Foundation. We also have Detroit Development Fund, PNC Bank, of course, UHY, Comcast Business, State Farm, that's Cindy Fletcher Insurance Agency, Truscott Rossman, Tanner Friedman, Informed Michigan, MEDC, America's SBDC, media sponsors, WWJ News Radio 950, D-Business, Detroit Public TV, and The Hub. That's a great lineup, do you think?
Absolutely.
Terrific.
Oh, Bill and Steve, I want to thank you both for coming in. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you later this week.
Thank you very much.
Mark.
Appreciate it.
And by the way, what's the website for UHY?
It's www.uhy-us.com.
You got it.